Have you ever thought about starting a new life here in Mexico? It's a dream for many and a nightmare for others. I'm Rich and I moved to Mexico 10 years ago, and I want to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned along the way. So stay tuned, guys. This is going to be a 10-week series of all the stuff that I wish I knew before moving to Mexico. What I wish I knew before moving to Mexico was the real cost of living here in Mexico, because there's a lot of misunderstanding and misconception of how much it is really going to cost you when moving to Mexico. So what I want to do in this video is break down my expenses, and I want to break down what your possible expenses are depending on the lifestyle that you're really looking for. So firstly, before I say anything, guys, I'm using my research that I've put together for my numbers here are based on areas here in Mexico that you're probably more likely to move to. So what I mean is moving to, say, Puerto Vallarta, or moving to Playa del Carmen, or moving to Lake Chapala, or San Miguel de Allende, or Guadalajara, or Mexico City. I'm not talking about, my numbers are not based on moving somewhere where there's no services, where there's no communities. My numbers are based on living in kind of touristic-y areas of Mexico. Obviously, if you wanted to go live elsewhere, the price is a lot less. So, bearing in mind, this is probably the top end of what you'll be spending. So I want to give you a breakdown from, say, the base level up to, I don't know, the maximum. So it gives you an idea of what you're going to be spending in rent, in utility bills, in running a car, in groceries. This is what this video is all about. So let's begin with how much does it cost to rent a house here in Mexico. I'm talking about, say, a 2 or 3 bedroom house or apartment in a nice area of Mexico. How much are you going to be paying every month in rent? So let's start with 15,000 pesos. 15,000 pesos will probably get you a nice 2-bed apartment, possibly a house with a little garden. And you can go anywhere up to 60, 70,000 pesos in rent if you want to live in a place. Say if you wanted a house with a swimming pool, private swimming pool, tennis courts, amazing views, then you could be looking at, you know, from 40, 50, 60, 70,000 pesos. If you wanted to buy instead of rent here in Mexico, if you're not probably aware, the cost of buying a property here in Mexico, if you're going to be using a bank and you'll get a mortgage for the property, say a 15 to 20 year mortgage on the property, you could be looking at paying anywhere, say as an average property of around 4 million pesos, which is around $200,000, you could be looking at paying anywhere from around 40,000 pesos per month in rent, in mortgage payments, because the average mortgage here is around 12% annually. So it kind of works out. So you get the idea. So it's very, very expensive to buy through a mortgage here in Mexico. However, there's not a lot of options for young people like myself. I have a mortgage and I pay around 13,000 pesos a month. So it gives you an idea. My house is a lot cheaper, and I live in a very, very humble area of Guadalajara. I have no whistles and bells. Now let's talk about your utility bills, and we'll begin with electricity. Electricity in general in Mexico is pretty reasonable. I mean, it depends how much you use. You get a little help from the government to pay your electricity bill in Mexico if you're on the lower level. I'll give you an example, guys. If you were to have, say, a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment, on average, my electricity bill is around 250 pesos every 2 months. But I'll let you know, guys, I have no air conditioning units in my house. I do have a tumble dryer because I've got a couple of young kids, and I'm constantly kind of drying clothes with kids. But you don't really need one here in Mexico because it's always sunny and it's always hot, so you can dry your clothes outside. As soon as you put on top of that, you know, air conditioning units, very expensive to run air conditioning units, and should we say a home cinema with projectors that really crank up the watts, you're going to be you probably will be paying around 1,000 pesos, 2,000 pesos a month in electricity payments. So then it's always worth looking at like getting renewable energy in, getting your solar panels to cancel out that cost. So more on utility bills, you have your gas, which is your propane gas. Here in Mexico, it's very unlikely that most houses are not set up on a main gas link to the street. So every house here in Mexico, the majority, I would say, have their own little gas tank, propane gas tank, which is on the roof or down below somewhere, and a guy will come out and fill that up every kind of 2 months here. And cost wise, we probably pay around 2,000 pesos every 2 months, 3 months. But you know, family of 4, we use it quite a lot with a tumble dryer. But it gives you an idea. But if you were to not use a tumble dryer, you could probably get away with, you know, maybe 300 or 400 pesos a month in propane gas. That gives you an idea, guys. And finally, on utility bills, it's water. How much does water cost here in Mexico? It is actually pretty reasonable. Water is really reasonable here in Mexico, and we pay anywhere from around about 100 to 200 pesos every couple of months for water. What you do find a lot here, if you buy into a condominium, they may have their own water well in the condominium that you buy into, or the condos, or the area may have its own water well. And through the association, home association fees, you get the water chucked in as well, which is always an added bonus. But water in general can probably put you back a couple of 100 pesos per month. So let's talk about groceries, guys. Food shopping. How much does food shopping cost here in Mexico? Well, let me break this down a little bit. There's a lot of options. You can go Walmart, you can go Costco, you can go local markets. What I prefer myself, me and my wife, we do most of our shopping at the local markets, and we go to fishmongers to buy our fish, and we go to the butcher to buy our meat. That's what we do normally, and we try and keep the cost down. If you can easily spend quite a lot of money if you do go to the Costco's, if you go to the Walmarts, because the price of food here in Mexico is not in them establishments, it's not a lot cheaper than if you were to be in the States, if not at times more expensive than buying it in the States or in England, where I'm from. So it gives you an example. So if you wanted to keep your bills down, I would always recommend shopping at the local markets and local butcher, local fishmongers, and you'll be fine. What I spend on groceries every month, I spend around 10,000 pesos a month on groceries, which is what, 2,500 per week on grocery shopping. But you know, I've got 4 people in my house, and you know, we don't eat a lot, you know, but we eat nice food, but we nothing special. I mean, we're not eating like lobsters every day and stuff. But you can eat really, really well here, and the food in Mexico is wonderful. I mean, all the fruit you get here in Mexico is from Mexico. Nothing is imported, pretty much, apart from apples and pears sometimes from the US. So all the fruit you're eating here is all fresh, and it doesn't have to travel too far to your door. That's one of the most wonderful things of living in Mexico, is the vast variety of food and fish fruit and fish and vegetables that you can get on your doorstep. We're so lucky. So finally, guys, running a car. What does it cost to run a car here in Mexico? We have 2 cars because me and my wife, we both work. So we need 2 cars to get out and about. And we pay on average, I use probably on average about 7,000 pesos worth of petrol or gasoline, wherever you're from, every month, which is what, $300 of gas. But I drive a lot. I drive probably 4 hours a day, come to work, come back, I'm out with clients. So I'm always driving, I'm always out and about. So it gives you an idea of what it costs to run a car. Insurance for a car is going to be around, we pay around 700 pesos per month in insurance. So guys, I just wanted to give you a view of what I'm looking at. I'm doing the video out on the Malecon in Nahihiq today. So thank you again for watching, guys. It's been a pleasure to do this video. If you have watched this video all the way through, I'm sure, you know, hopefully you've enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. You know the score. I'm going to be uploading another video next week. More stuff about the things I wish I knew before moving to Mexico. So please, as well, guys, subscribe, and thank you again for watching. You take care. Hasta luego, amigos.